When was the last time you looked at yourself in the mirror and asked, am I truly living the life I want? Not the life that others expect from me, not the one that seems right in the eyes of society, but the one that genuinely resonates with my soul. Carl Jung, one of the most profound thinkers in modern psychology, left us with a lesson that few dare to follow: the importance of choosing yourself even when everything around you seems to push you in the opposite direction. We live in a world meticulously designed to distract you, to keep you trapped in routines, expectations, and an endless stream of obligations that seem unavoidable. From the moment you wake up, you are bombarded with external demands, work, family responsibilities, social norms, all dictating how you should behave, what you should strive for, and even what success should look like. But here's a truth that many refuse to acknowledge: every time you prioritize others over yourself, you are sending a silent message to your inner self that it does not matter, that its needs, desires, and truths are secondary. You are ignoring that quiet voice from deep within your subconscious, the one that persistently tries to guide you toward a more authentic and fulfilling life. Jung believed that our connection with the unconscious is not something optional, it is an essential part of who we are, yet so many people silence it, push it aside, and choose to ignore its signals because facing it can be uncomfortable. That feeling of unease you experience when something in your life doesn't feel right, that is not random, that is your soul speaking to you, trying to show you that something needs to change, even if the mere thought of change terrifies you. Now take a moment and reflect how many of the decisions you've made recently came from a place of true authenticity, and how many were driven by fear: fear of disappointing others, fear of stepping outside the norm, fear of discomfort, or fear of breaking away from what is familiar. Jung urges us to deeply contemplate this because he understood a universal truth: decisions that are not rooted in your inner truth create nothing but chaos and disconnection. The further you stray from yourself, the more lost you will feel. But let's clarify something important: choosing yourself does not mean rejecting others. This is not about living in selfishness or disregarding the people around you. It is about recognizing that in order to give the best version of yourself to the world, you must first be at peace with yourself. This is the fundamental principle of self-love, a concept Jung explored in depth. Self-love is not a luxury, it is not an excuse to escape responsibilities, it is the foundation upon which all meaningful and authentic relationships are built. When you choose to prioritize yourself, something profound shifts in your energy. You begin to attract people and situations that are aligned with your true essence. It's as if the universe responds to your decision to live in truth, eliminating what no longer serves you and bringing forth what you truly need to grow. But to reach this state, you must first confront your shadows, the parts of yourself that you have ignored, suppressed, or feared. Jung described the shadow as the hidden aspect of our psyche, the one that contains everything we would rather not acknowledge about ourselves. And while facing your shadow can be uncomfortable, it is within this confrontation that true transformation begins, because when you integrate your shadows, when you stop fighting against them and learn to accept them, you unlock an inner power you never imagined you had. This process of integration does not happen overnight. It requires courage, patience, and an unwavering commitment to understanding yourself. But what you gain in return is invaluable clarity, the ability to see beyond the illusions you once believed in, purpose, a renewed sense of direction and meaning in your life, inner peace, a calm so profound that no external chaos can shake it. You gain the ability to say no to what does not align with you without guilt, without fear, and without worrying about the judgment of others. But most importantly, you gain the freedom to be who you truly are. You might be wondering, how do I begin this journey? The answer is far simpler than you think. Start by listening to yourself. Every time you feel discomfort, uncertainty, or a surge of emotion, pause and ask yourself, what is my unconscious trying to tell me? Because as Jung once said, the answers you seek externally are already within you. You just need the courage to listen and the determination to act accordingly. One of the hardest things we do in life is listen to our intuition, especially when it leads us down a path that challenges everything we've built. Maybe it's a relationship you know is no longer working, maybe it's a job that drains you but feels impossible to leave, maybe it's a dream you've been chasing simply because it seemed like the right thing to do. Jung reminds us that ignoring these signals is not a sign of strength, it is a denial of our true essence. To choose yourself is to have the courage to let go of what no longer resonates with you, and that is not always easy. We cling to the familiar because change is terrifying. We convince ourselves that better the devil you know than the one you don't. But Jung challenges us to see change not as an ending but as a doorway, a passage to a more authentic version of ourselves. So think about this: what are You holding on to that no longer serves you. What relationships, beliefs or habits are you maintaining out of fear? You may feel that letting go of certain people or situations would be a loss, but the real loss happens when you sacrifice your inner peace just to hold on to something that no longer has meaning. The choice is always yours, and perhaps the most important question you can ask yourself right now is, am I ready to truly choose myself? Choosing yourself is not an act of selfishness, it is an act of profound love and deep respect for who you truly are. For too long society has conditioned us to believe that prioritizing ourselves is wrong, that putting our needs first is somehow a betrayal of the people around us, but the reality is quite the opposite. When you finally make the conscious decision to choose yourself, something truly magical begins to unfold. It's as if a fog that had been clouding your vision starts to lift, and for the first time in a long time you see things with clarity. The people who genuinely support you remain by your side, while those who only drained your energy, those who never truly valued you, start to fade away. And this is no coincidence, it is the direct reflection of an internal transformation and alignment between your inner world and your external reality. Jung called this synchronicity, the mysterious yet undeniable connection between your thoughts, emotions and the circumstances that unfold in your life when you begin to live in alignment with your truth. Your external world shifts to mirror that transformation. It is as if the universe responds to your authenticity by reshaping your environment to match it. However, this process requires something that many people find difficult: radical honesty with yourself. Choosing yourself is not just about making bold decisions or setting firm boundaries. Sometimes it also means acknowledging uncomfortable truths about your past. Perhaps you have made choices that were not a true reflection of who you really are. Maybe you have allowed people to overstep your boundaries, sacrificing your own well-being to please them. You might have said yes to things you knew you should have rejected out of fear of disappointing others. But here's the important part: this is not a reason to judge yourself. Instead, it is an opportunity, an invitation to learn to recalibrate and to make a different choice moving forward. Jung believed that authenticity is not a destination, it is a continuous journey. It is a process of learning, evolving and growing into the truest version of yourself. And on this path you will face resistance. There will be moments when you doubt yourself, when old habits call you back, tempting you to return to familiar patterns simply because they feel comfortable. But remember this: true growth never happens within your comfort zone. The most profound transformations occur when you dare to step beyond the familiar into the unknown. The world will not always understand your decision to choose yourself. There will be people who criticize you, who question your choices, who even distance themselves from you because you no longer fit their expectations. And yes, this can be painful, because when you choose yourself you stop seeking external validation. You begin to realize that your worth is not defined by what others think of you, but rather by what you believe about yourself. This does not mean that you must isolate yourself or disconnect from those around you. Quite the contrary. When you choose yourself, your relationships evolve in ways you never imagined. You no longer chase approval, you seek genuine connection. You no longer settle for shallow interactions, you crave relationships that nourish your soul. And in this process you discover something beautiful: the right people will always be there, not because they need you but because they value you exactly as you are. As you begin to live from a place of authenticity, the world around you transforms. This is not magic, nor is it some kind of trick. It is the powerful interplay between your inner and outer worlds. Jung often spoke about how our psyche projects our inner state onto the external world. If you live in internal conflict, you will attract external conflict. If you reject yourself, you will encounter rejection in various forms. But if you choose yourself, if you fully accept and embrace who you are, you will begin to see how the people and circumstances around you also start to shift. This transformation does not happen overnight. It is a process, and like any process it requires patience and commitment. There will be days when you feel like you are taking steps backward, moments when your old tendencies try to resurface, but this is where the real test lies: your ability to stay firm in your decision to choose yourself, even when it feels uncomfortable, even when it feels lonely. The world glorifies sacrifice, but at what cost? Not everyone will support your choice to prioritize yourself. We live in a world that glorifies sacrifice, where giving everything to others, even at the expense of our own well-being, is seen as noble. But what happens when we pour from an empty cup? What happens when we give so much that we lose ourselves in the process? Choosing yourself is not selfish, it is necessary, because only when you are whole, when are aligned with your truth, can you truly give to others from a place of abundance rather than depletion. So dare to choose yourself, not just once but every day, not just in the big moments but in the smallest of decisions, and watch as your life begins to transform in ways you never imagined. But Jung taught us something profoundly important: we cannot give what we do not possess. If you sacrifice your happiness, your energy, or your inner peace in an attempt to please others, then what you are offering is not authentic, and sooner or later that imbalance will manifest itself in your life, whether through emotional exhaustion, dissatisfaction, or even a sense of emptiness. Take a moment to reflect on your current relationships. How many of them inspire you, uplift you, and bring you peace, and how many leave you feeling drained, confused, or emotionally depleted? Jung invites us to ponder this because our relationships are not merely social connections, they are mirrors that reflect our internal state. The people we choose to keep close are reflections of the beliefs, values, and emotional patterns that reside within us. If you find yourself allowing someone to repeatedly cross your boundaries, it is not necessarily because they are bad, but rather because a part of you has not yet learned how to protect itself. Setting boundaries is not an act of selfishness, it is an act of self-love. Jung believed that the unconscious mind is constantly working to guide us toward our well-being, but more often than not we ignore its signals. That sense of exhaustion you feel after interacting with certain individuals is not a coincidence, it is your unconscious telling you that the relationship is not in alignment with your true essence, and if you continue to ignore these signals, the price you will always pay is your inner peace. Choosing yourself means setting boundaries not as walls that shut people out, but as bridges that lead to healthier and more authentic relationships. When you say no to what does not serve you, you are simultaneously saying yes to your truth, your dreams, and your well-being. This does not mean that you should sever ties with everyone, but rather that you must be honest with yourself about which relationships nourish you and which ones drain you. As you begin to live from this place of authenticity, something extraordinary happens. Your intuition strengthens. That inner voice which once seemed faint or uncertain starts guiding you with greater clarity. You begin making choices that not only make logical sense but also feel right deep within your soul. This is the power of choosing yourself. It reconnects you with your intuition, with that inner compass that has always been there waiting for you to trust it. Jung described intuition as one of the purest forms of connection with the unconscious. It is that inexplicable knowing, that feeling in your gut when something either feels right or does not. But to truly hear it, you must silence the noise of the outside world. This means letting go of the need for approval, detaching from societal expectations, and learning to trust yourself, because at the end of the day no one else can truly know what is best for you. When you decide to choose yourself, you are sending a powerful message to the universe: I am ready to live in alignment with my truth. And the universe responds. Suddenly you begin to attract people, opportunities, and experiences that resonate with who you truly are. This does not mean that life will be free of challenges, but those challenges will no longer feel like an endless struggle. Instead, they will become stepping stones, opportunities for growth, transformation, and self-discovery. By choosing to live in authenticity, you also begin to experience something Jung described as synchronicity. These seemingly random yet perfectly timed events that unfold in your life are not mere coincidences, they are a direct reflection of your inner alignment. When you are in harmony with yourself, the external world starts aligning with you as well. Doors open effortlessly, the right people come into your life at the right moment, and everything begins to flow in ways that once seemed impossible. This is the beauty of embracing your true self. When you honor your inner world, the external world responds in kind, and in that space of deep alignment you will find not only a greater sense of fulfillment but also a profound sense of peace, the kind that comes from knowing you are exactly where you are meant to be. When you choose yourself and decide to honor your truth, the universe seems to conspire in your favor. The right opportunities arrive effortlessly, the right people appear at the perfect moment, and everything begins to flow in a way that once seemed impossible. It is as if the entire fabric of existence shifts to align with your newfound sense of purpose. Suddenly what once felt out of reach is now within your grasp. But this does not mean that the path will be free of obstacles. In fact, some of the greatest challenges arise precisely when you decide to choose yourself. It is as if the world, so accustomed to the version of you that aimed to please everyone else, suddenly resists your transformation and tries to test your commitment. You might feel the weight of external expectations pushing against you, trying to pull you back into old patterns. The doubts will come, the fears will surface, and the temptation to return to what is familiar will be strong. This is where your true power lies. Every time you reaffirm your decision, every time you prioritize your inner peace over external demands, your strength the connection with your true self. The key is to remain steadfast even when uncertainty creeps in. It is completely natural to feel fear when leaving behind the known, even if you are aware that it no longer serves you. But remember this: every time you choose to stay in a place